Russell.
From Love Create Celebrate. Welcome back to our channel where we share all of our DIY and home renovation videos.
And this week we are focusing on closet doors.
More specifically, barn doors.
More specifically, modern barn doors.
If you have not subscribed to our channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss out on future videos. We installed these new barn doors when we first moved into the house, but as we've renovated the house and changed a lot of the features of it, these barn doors are starting to feel like they don't quite fit in.
More of a rustic vibe.
They're definitely more rustic looking. They're the very traditional style of barn door. And we thought we could probably make something a little bit more interesting and a little bit more fun.
So Lindy came up with some ideas for the barn door, and when she first told me, I was like, that is a lot of work.
To be fair, I did ask him if it was possible.
It's possible with tools.
But I may have taken on a little too much this time, or rather asked him to take on a little too much this time.
Twice, because there's two doors.
But I'm positive that the door design is going to be beautiful. We just have to figure out what material we're actually going to use and how we're going to make it look the way I'm envisioning it in my head.
Yeah. So for this video, we teamed up with Wagner, and we'll be using their paint sprayer to apply stain and polyurethane on the barn doors, or possibly paint if Lindy changes her mind.
Yeah, I haven't decided yet what we're gonna do in terms of color. So I'm showing Russell the plans for these barn doors.
Barn doors, we have two barn doors right now.
And he says it's totally doable. So
I think there's some caveats to that discussion. Like somebody's getting some new tools.
I'm pretty sure this design with these slats is gonna look really cool in our house and in our hallway. And fingers crossed, we can stain these barn doors instead of paint them.
For the wood feel.
Yeah, so then we can add some warmth to the hallway. If we have to paint them, I'll add warmth in other ways and we'll figure it out.
Probably won't have to paint them.
We might have to paint them. It just depends on how it all works out. But Russell says it's doable. This is the design plan. What I'm planning to do is put these vertical lines through the door so that they're inset into the door. Inset through a little bit of the wood and not protruding out from the door the way you would expect slats or something like that you put on top. So it's a little bit more complicated. I drew this little mini diagram for Russell and he said,
I can't do square dents.
Likely they'd be rounded, but I love that look anyways. So that's what we're going for. Hopefully we can make this happen. So we originally tried this design with 2x4s, but we weren't very happy with the look. So we ended up using 3/4 inch sheets, 4x8 sheets of plywood with one good side. We did some sampling. We put some different routed edges into this board just to see what look we liked better. Essentially, this, whatever pattern we choose, is gonna be repeated along the entire sheet of plywood, vertically up the door. We played around with depth. These are the deepest ones here, and these are obviously more shallow. And then playing around with width and playing around with the width of the actual groove or router bit as well.
If you go shallower, you have a lot more control of the cut. The deeper you go, it wanted to walk a lot. This is just using a straight edge. And I mean, you could take 2 passes, but now you're doubling the amount of work.
I mean, this I think looks the best just here compared to the width here.
But you have to scale it to a whole door.
Exactly, you have to scale it to a whole door. And I think when you scale it to a whole door, this kind of thing is gonna work.
We started off by cutting our front face pieces of plywood to size, which in our case was 36 inches wide by 84 inches tall. Because we were layering 2 sheets of plywood together, we also had to cut the back sheet, which we cut slightly larger at about 85 inches by 37 inches. Most barn doors come with a groove at the bottom to hold the bottom of the door in place while it slides, and this was easier to do before we glued the plywood sheets together. So in order to cut the guide in the bottom of the doors, I used my track from my track saw as well as a router guide, and I used a 3/4 inch diameter bit and cut a 3/4 inch tall by 1/8 of an inch deep slot along the bottom side of your door. You want to make sure that you put this groove on the inside face of both pieces of plywood, not on the good side that's going to be facing outwards. Once both the grooves are cut and the plywood is glued together, you have the perfect groove on the bottom of your door.
We had to decide now where we wanted all of our routered lines to sit, and we decided that we wanted to have a border around the whole outside edge of the plywood that wouldn't have any routered lines, and we made that border 2 3/4 inch thick.
So these are all, the X's is the negative space that we're gonna remove. You can see here we're actually a 1/4 inch. Yeah, so I think, well, and I started with it on this side, so I think we just need to move this whole line over 1/8 of an inch, and then that will mean both of these sills, both of these pieces are the same width, and then it's centered. So a little bit of a talk about router and equipment before we start cutting the door. There's a bunch of ways to do this. All of them work. Some are faster and some are more accurate, but you can do this cheap or you can do it with some fancy tools. But I'm gonna do the majority of the work with my fancy tools because that's the best way to do it and the best repeatability. So first thing is I have a router. This is the DeWalt 611, and it comes with a plunge base, which is really nice for this because then I can have my router sit above the work before I start my cut, and it works really nice for lining up. That being said, you could just have it with a fixed base. It's just that then your bit is always at the depth that you want to go, whereas like this one I can slowly work it into the piece. Next step is a track system. For this project, I'm gonna be using my track from my circular saw, my track saw, and that track I can also put on this router base, and what it does is it just gives you a guide that's secured to the board to keep nice straight lines. It essentially is the same idea as a straight edge, but just with more precision, and it's easier to secure and more repeatability. The one that I found best, it's actually Bosch, and I have a Festool track system, but this works on my Festool track, and it's nice because you can actually move your router base in and out, so I can set my track up once and get 2 or 3 cuts before having to move my track again, whereas if you're using a straight edge, or the other system, you'd have to move the track for every cut. So in regards to like efficiency, this is probably your best bet. This was about $100, so that's not too bad. I mean, even with buying this, I'm still cheaper than buying one of those doors new.
Quick note about the Bosch router adapter plate. Our DeWalt 611 wasn't a perfect fit, but we were able to make it work for this job just fine. But there are a bunch of approved routers that will work perfectly with this adapter. Once we were happy with the layout and we double and triple checked all the measurements to make sure everything was squared up, we began routering. We set the router bit depth to a 1/16 of an inch and slowly began taking passes up and down the door until the entire door was complete. Couple tips for if you decide to do a project like this yourself. One is I added a vacuum partway through because I found if you could keep all the sawdust out of the cut, you got a really nice cut quality. Second is I used a little bit of sandpaper as I went to kind of give the edges a light sand to take out any burrs. And third is measure. Keep measuring as you move your track down the piece because you want to make sure that all your lines stay square. Okay, now that all the tough work is done, we can start the assembly process. So I started off by applying a whole bunch of glue to the back sides or the inside faces of the doors so that we could glue the 2 pieces of plywood together. sheet slightly larger than the front was so once we had it all glued together, we could take a flush trim bit and cut the back exactly the same size as the front. This step is optional, but I added a few screws around the perimeter of the door just to add a bit more structure to make sure that those 2 sheets of plywood were bonded really well.
So the next step is just to go around the edges of your door and fill any voids, just to give you a nice finish, because you are going to be able to see the edge of the door once they're installed from the side. I found that natural worked really well to fill in these, and it matched with the stain that we tested, so that's what I'm going to run with.
Because we were using plywood and we were routing the top face, we had a couple scenarios where we actually hit a notch or like a small little void. For the most part, it was okay, but there were some larger ones that we decided that we should fill with wood filler. Once all the spots are patched and your wood filler is dry, we gave the whole door, all sides, a quick sand with a 220 grit.
With all of the routed grooves coming out as nicely as they did, I think we were pretty positive we'd be able to stain this guy. So we tested a few stains on a scrap board and ended up going with flagstone, which is a beautiful brown stain color. We used our Wagner Flexio 5000 paint sprayer for this. We have used this paint sprayer for a ton of different projects, but it is really great for spraying stain as well. And it was the perfect tool for getting inside all of these little grooves we had made. We did 1 coat of stain up and down the door on both sides to make sure that we could get into the grooves at both angles. Once we were done, we let the stain sit for 2 to 3 minutes and then we wiped off any excess stain with a rag. We also wanted to protect the doors and pull out the nice wood grain, so we gave the doors a coat of polyacrylic on all sides. The final step was to install all of the hardware and get these new barn doors hung up. And here's how our new DIY barn doors look in the space. So what did you guys think of those barn doors? I am so happy with the final result.
I'm significantly older.
No, Russell aged in the garage this week.
It took me long. It definitely was even more work than what I thought. I knew it was going to be a bunch of work. There's definitely, I got it down to a science now, and the second one definitely went faster than the first one. So hopefully you appreciated the tips. We definitely really love the look, but we're not gonna try and hide it. These were a bunch of work. I think they are a really cool feature, and you probably aren't gonna find them in anyone else's home.
I'm so happy that we decided to stain them. I think the stain looks amazing. The color adds warmth to the hallway. It looks really good.
I mean, the doors turned out awesome. The space is sweet. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. And if you have any questions or comments, make sure to put them below.
And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Let us know in the comments below what you think of our new barn doors. And as always, hit the bell so you don't miss out on future DIY and home renovations. Thanks so much for watching.